Hi, welcome to 10 Minutes to Higher Leadership. I'm Carlann Fergusson, CEO Propel Forward and a leadership change expert. Today's topic is courageous leadership, overcoming the fear to speak up or speak out. And I'm going to share with you 3 powerful questions that are going to help you overcome your fear of speaking up or speaking out. Those questions first became apparent to me when I was working for a vice president who loved the game of golf. He and several of his staff would get together on a Saturday or Sunday and they would play golf. Then on Monday morning at the staff meeting, he and they would enter into a conversation about what had happened on the golf course. Sometimes it was sharing jokes about something funny for them that happened on the golf course. And other times it was real clear that they were making decisions about business. And for those of us on the staff who were not part of the golf group and didn't enjoy the game of golf, we were always a little bit behind on things. I watched as this happened over several weeks. And I observed the heavy sighs and the awkwardness of those who weren't part of the golf outings. I debated if I should say anything to the vice president. After all, no one else was saying anything. And it was certainly clear that those who did golf were certainly feeling part of his special club, while those of us who didn't really felt pretty cast to the sidelines. You know, this vice president was a great leader, so it wasn't intentional. So I had to assess what was the risk of speaking up. You know, he absolutely loved golf, and I knew he'd have trouble seeing my point of view. I also knew that as the newest member to the team, no one else had said anything to him, so it was going to come as a bit of a surprise when I did. And if I made him angry, oh my gosh, I could lose my job. That scenario was awful. So what was the risk of not speaking up? Well, first, we had just spent months of training on diversity training and inclusion training. And we had done it throughout the organization. So now, as a senior staff, we weren't role modeling what we were out there preaching. Also, I wasn't going to take up golf. So I was going to constantly be left on the sidelines in these conversations. And I wasn't going to be privy to all the details I needed to have to do my job. So that could affect my performance. And if my performance wasn't great, you know, he could fire me. It was a very competitive organization. So I also had to ask myself, how would I feel about myself if I didn't speak up? Someone had to bring this up. The chasm he was creating between the two groups was just getting wider. And I couldn't pretend I didn't see it. Of course I saw it. And if I remained silent, I would be harming my integrity as a leader. The next day, I go to his office and I close the door. I'm a little bit nervous, but I say to him, I need to talk to you about your staff meetings. I know it's not intentional, but on Monday mornings when you come in and start talking about your golf game, you're including only those people who were with you. And the rest of your staff, we don't know what went on that course, so we don't get the jokes, and we don't understand some of the details of work that you all have been describing. He turns to me and he says, are you saying I shouldn't be playing golf? And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that maybe you shouldn't be talking about work while you're playing golf, and when you come back into work, maybe you shouldn't be talking about golf. Just in order to keep everybody feeling a part of the larger team. And he shoots back, that's ridiculous. I've invited everybody on my team to play golf with us on the weekend. It's up to them if they want to show up. I don't see how this has anything to do with work. And I said to him, have you noticed how those on your team who are involved in golf are starting to wear golf shirts to work every day? And it's creating a real picture of those who are in the group and those who are out of the group. And he shuts down the conversation with a firm, I disagree, and I get up and I leave. Well, at this point, I know this conversation did not go well. So I go home to my husband that night and I tell him that I've probably lost my job. I'm certain we're going to have to pay back the relocation costs, and I'm certain that I'm going to have to find a new job, and we're going to have to relocate again, and we're going to have to send the kids to new schools, and I'm going into this whole doom and gloom scenario. And he says to me, you know what? Don't worry about it tonight. Let the vice president sleep on it, and then, you know what? He'll come to his senses. It'll be all right. Well, I'm the one who didn't sleep that night, I can tell you that. And so the next day I go into work, and sure enough, by the afternoon, the vice president calls me into his office. I can feel the pit in my stomach as I'm going in there, and I'm having trouble even getting a deep breath. I enter his office timidly, and he says to me, sit down, Carlann. I need to apologize. Whew! I was really glad to hear those words. And he told me how he had gone and ranted to his assistant vice president, who was also a golfing buddy. And he had told him how I was wrong and how what I said didn't make any sense, and he was just venting. And then the assistant vice president said to him, you know, she's right. We should have noticed what it was doing to our team, and we can't let this continue. And he said to me, you know, Assistant VP and you are both right. I can't keep bringing up the golf on Monday mornings, and I shouldn't be talking about work when we're out golfing. So anytime I need to assess if I should speak up or not, I ask myself the same 3 questions. What's the risk of speaking up? What is the risk of not speaking up? And 3, how will I feel about myself if I don't speak up? Too often, leaders only assess the risk of speaking up. This is the first mistake leaders make that cuts their courageousness. Assessing the risk of speaking up is going to bring forth the worst scenario, just like it did for me. I'm going to lose my job. The possibility that perhaps the other person will thank you and you will be the hero doesn't even enter our mind, because our survival brain, it's preparing us for the worst. And that's going to make most people stop and not speak out. Question 3, how will you feel about yourself if you don't speak up? Be honest here. If you let whatever it is continue, you're supporting it. Your silence is condoning the behavior. And it's easy to point the finger to others and say they should be the ones to speak up, but this isn't about them, is it? It's about you. If you think these tips will only help you with things like staff meetings and golf, well, think again. These are going to help you with even the most scary of circumstances. There was a time in my career when I used those same 3 questions to raise issues of unhealthy leaders. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I immediately marched in there like Superwoman, ready to take a speeding bullet. In both cases, I took steps toward my possible next career move. I wanted to make certain I could land a bit more softly if needed. If the organization had addressed the issues, well, I could certainly decline any offers I had, and if not, it was time to move on. So let me ask you 4 questions. What is it you're avoiding saying? What is the risk of continuing not to say anything? What is the risk of speaking up? And how does your choice reflect you as a leader? Thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope you'll join me by subscribing to my YouTube channel or join me on Facebook. And you can also check out some great things that are going on at propelforward.com. Until next time, keep rising to a higher level of leadership.